Oh, right. Make sure that I have. Maybe so pretty. Still looking at her on the YouTube side of things. It's like a 5-second delay.
You're being admired. As you should be.
She's like, yeah.
Hello, I'm here. It's my video decides
I
to
hear
load.
Karen.
There we go.
Ouch. Hey, apparently my cat's in here too.
Lovely.
Not the one that actually comes when I call him, mind you.
Oh.
He loves attention. He just has really bad hearing.
Don't actually have a craft project for today, so trying to think of one real quick.
Oh yeah, and I'm just packaging stuff because that's what needs to happen today.
I actually forgot it was book club until I was on my way home at like 4:45. So,
Yeah, I am just like cutting out stuff that's going to go into resin eventually.
Maybe he's licking my arm, and I don't think that's a good idea because I have sunscreen and bug spray on.
I do have news. At least it will be a few minutes late. Our brother dragged her out, so this will be a few minutes late.
Her. I love that you said her brother.
And did I say her or I meant our?
Like, I am not claiming him right now.
I think it's more of a matter of him claiming me, but
I don't know about you two, but this was my favorite story we have read so far.
It was really good. Yeah. I read it a long time ago, but I remember it. So
the movie that you mentioned that made out of it.
I haven't seen it.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
If you like horror movies, I don't.
Oh.
I like Lovecraft's kind of horror where it's just like intense but leaves so much up to the imagination.
Yeah.
I will say Nicolas Cage moved his face a lot more than I've seen in any other movie.
So he's done some of the weirdest stuff lately. I'm interested in it because I did like another horror movie that he did. And then he made this weird, one of the newer movies he's made, like weird, like it looked like everything I was going to enjoy. It was like post-apocalyptic Western with samurai, and that the trailer looked fantastic. And I was like, what is this madness? This is exactly my brand of madness. But then the movie was so bad. Like, it was so incoherent. It was one of the most incoherent movies I have ever seen.
The trailers are usually like
it is, and how little it delivered on what it promised is that on the cover of the movie, he's wearing 2 katanas, and he never has a katana in the movie.
Yeah, so if trailers
you would actually need to have that.
If a trailer is that amazing, probably most of the good parts of the movie are in that trailer.
Yeah, it was. I like a good bad movie as much as anybody else who likes good bad movies. This was too incoherent to even be a good bad movie. It was pretty, but that's about all I can say for it. So yeah, I haven't seen Color Out of Space. I'm interested though, because I did like Mandy, which is his other horror movie that he did before that one.
I did a free trial on Amazon Prime for it was one of the channels. I have Amazon Prime anyway, but it was one of the channels that they have Shudder, I think it was.
Yeah.
That it's available on if you have that channel. I swear I knew the girl from the movie from something, and I was looking all through her IMDb, and I've no idea. And I'm like, no, I know her. Like,
I know.
I don't know, I saw her in an interview sometime or something. Like, I've definitely seen this girl before.
I'm just gonna draw today.
Oh, nice. That works.
I came up with this brilliant plan. I measured out all of my my like pendant molds that have like a peg in them to create a hole when you pour it. I measured them all out and I made entire templates in Photoshop so that I could like drop the different pictures into it and have the outlines for where I need to cut. But some of them, like this shape, are not so easy to do that with. And I realized that I can use stamp ink around the edge of the silicone and stamp it onto it and find what to. I can't words apparently, but you know, figure out where I'm cutting it and where the hole goes to, which is always the harder part for me.
Speaking of resin, I have this entire bag of stuff I need to sand. I've got like little controllers that I'm turning into keychains. I've got gummy bears which I'm turning into keychains and earrings. And I've got, I don't have anything Zodiac in here because I'm waiting on something in the mail, but
I have two extreme size. Where'd the other one go? I have two extreme sizes of books that I put together, of my different size books that I was putting together. I have, but this one is like, it worked for putting together and it'll work for other things. But I do silver or gold edging along them. And
what are you wrapping the paper around?
Paper. It's all it's cardstock. I have like sizes that I cut it to, and then I glue the pages together because I wanted the edges to actually be page edges.
Yeah.
So then I do either silver or gold around the edges, and I forgot. Well, no, not so much forgot as I was being impatient and didn't want to wait for it to finish drying. And so I got this whole like smear of silver across here. So this one will be mine. No, it'll be selling.
Just realized that I have a misprint card, so I can't package the Poe cards.
What?
I said I have a misprint card. She printed it in black and white and it's supposed to be in color. The blood splatters are black.
Oh, lovely.
Whoops.
It's supposed to look more like that. That's one where it was printed correctly. Yeah. So I'll have to fix.
I love that.
Having good times with my print shop these days. Carolyn, did you back for the calendar Kickstarter?
I did, yes.
It's taking so long this year. I'm so sorry.
It's not next year yet, and that's when I need the calendar.
Yeah, it's not my fault. It's all the print shop. I had this stuff to them 2.5 months ago.
Oh my gosh.
And I love them. They're a small local business. I've been using them for 12 years. I'm not about to, it's not about to damage my loyalty to them, but my goodness, it's so bad. And I can't use Kickstarter until I fulfill the rewards on this Kickstarter. So it's just bumping the hoodie and t-shirt Kickstarter like indefinitely into the future. But oh well.
Well, I backed it for both because I couldn't decide which calendar.
Oh yeah.
And I don't really need 2 calendars, but I'm gonna use 2 calendars somewhere because I could not choose between them. I save all of your calendars, and I'm like, someday I'm gonna have my whole big shop for all of my craft stuff, and I'm just gonna make a wall that is all Erika's art.
Yeah. Nice. I mean, I tell people that is the cheapest you can get that much art from my shop. period. It's printed on the same paper that I print my 8x10 prints on, if not better paper. And I charge $20 each for those. And that is $30 for the entire calendar of 12.
This scaled when I printed it. It's supposed to print at size and it scaled. My teardrops, maybe not. Putting my stamp around the edge, and like the silver line there of the teardrop is where I'm supposed to be cutting.
Oh yeah.
And I know that was the right size. It scaled it when it printed. That's what I get for printing from a PDF thing instead of from Photoshop.
Yep.
I'll have to reprint those and start that over. I'm going to work on Photoshop. If I can. My children, whom I love so very, very much, spilled some liquid all over my laptop, and my husband got it taken apart and all drying out right away, and the laptop's fine, but the HDMI cable connector port thing is not functioning anymore. And so I can't do my usual 2-screen setup to be talking to you guys and be able to do something on the other screen. And I mean, I do that with everything. I'm like working on Photoshop and watching Daredevil or something. Like, I've been working my way through Marvel in chronological order. But I went through and I like measured everything, and I drew out all of the pages to cut out for these ones. But I like measured it all out and I wrote it all down so neatly, so that I can go in Photoshop and make templates there, so I can just print out the pages and cut them and not be measuring and tracing every single time. But I haven't actually done it because Photoshop is one of the hardest to use while sharing one screen with 2 or 3 different things, and I don't do just one thing at a time well. I also can't really show you this because it's on the monitor that the camera's in, but I also came up with a new means of keeping my to-do list. I have all my little sticky notes, the little skinny ones, and I'm just like sticking along the sides of my monitor. And I'm like, every day I'm like, oh, I need to do this, and I need to do this, and I need to make this, and we have Elisa. And then I actually get on the computer and I just start mindless scrolling instead, and I'm like, what was the thing I was gonna do?
I've got this entire side of walking into the room and forgetting why you were there and getting busy with something else.
Yes.
I'm here. Very good.
Welcome in. We haven't talked much about the book, about the story yet. We talked about the fact that we all liked it, but we haven't really talked much about it yet.
I just find it very interesting because she had 2 hours.
You were both talking, and I don't know what either of you said.
The fact that I basically skimmed it because I only had 2 hours. I like what I read, though.
Lisa, what did you say?
I read it like 2.5 weeks ago, which was before I did 2 conventions and was very, very sick. So good luck remembering.
I cannot find my book at all. No. So because of that, I discovered that all of the stories are on hplovecraft.com.
Nice.
All of them. And
okay.
So I read it on my phone, but I kept like starting it, and then I'd get interrupted, and I couldn't save my page because it's all just one big long scroll. And so then I'd like come back and reread everything, and I'm like, didn't I read this already? And then I'm like, wait, this doesn't sound familiar. And then I get to the field and I'm like, no, but I read this part already. Apparently I thought that I had read that part or just totally forgot it. Either is possible. But it's again something in Arkham. Every time he talks about Arkham, I'm like, Batman.
Yeah. Right. He was the one who made it up, though. I think that's kind of cool.
It's funny looking at things in retrospect like that. Like, pop culture wise, we're more familiar with Batman than with H.P. Lovecraft. But then like you kind of retrace it. I was doing that a lot with this story. I kept thinking like, oh, this is like this thing in Star Trek, and this is like this thing in Babylon 5, or this is like, and then I'm like, no, they're like this came first.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that concept, I think that like other people have explored this concept, and I'm like, oh no, that he might have been the first one like to publish stuff about. Wow, I talk with my hands a lot. I just like looked over here where it's on the like 5-second delay, and I was like directing a plane or something. Badly, plane's gonna be spinning in circles. So anyway, so I kind of I'm going to jump right to the end if I don't split this up into sections. So if it's okay with you all, I want to split it up into talking about like segments of it at a time. So the first part, before he starts sharing the story that he learned, we have this unnamed narrator. He so rarely names his narrators, which it isn't necessary to. And this unnamed narrator is going to be looking for, or what's the word? Evaluating an area for
assessing
like, putting a water reservoir.
He's
and there's this section that nobody goes to, and it's like 5 acres of nothing. And I can never remember how much an acre is, but that's
it's
a good chunk.
108 feet by 108 feet. That's
what?
An acre. An acre is 108 feet by 108 feet.
Okay. So 5 acres. Lisa, who always does my math for me.
It's 540 square feet.
Thank you. This is what I keep you around for. So, I mean, that's a good chunk of land.
Yards, square yards. I think it's yards. There we go.
Yards
sounds more right.
Yeah, because we have like 7/10 of an acre, I think, and I think that would be yards is probably accurate, but don't go by me. I'm horrible at guesstimating. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, so he's looking this over, and there's like this one section that they call, what do they call it? The blasted heath. I was thinking cursed, but it's not cursed.
The blasted heath.
The blasted heath. Lisa, you might have a new nickname. So
I'll say Karen too, but she has a different last name.
Yeah, well, she wouldn't got married, so she's not a heath. So he basically just kind of dismissed it all as local folklore until he actually saw the area, and like, it's just ash and dust, and nothing's grown here for decades, and why? I also laughed when I got to the part where
that they're still planning on putting a water reservoir over it. Like, that's gonna go well.
Right.
I always like my water mixed with a good dose of ash.
Dose of like alien matter and ash.
I mean, even those who don't believe there's alien matter there, that's still a whole field of ash.
With weird trees.
And he's like, oh, good, they covered it up with water. And I'm like, you really think that's going to like make your problem disappear?
He did always. I'll talk about that when we get there. But yeah, I laughed when he said that it happened back in the 80s. Because I was like, oh, I was born back in the 80s. Oh, no, not those 80s.
Different 80s.
Century before that.
Wrong 80s. We're in the wrong 20s.
Myself
Okay.
too, been to the 80s.
We're in the wrong 20s.
My phone is not staying up well today.
It's tired.
It is. It's very tired.
Let's take a nap.
So, like, he's like, there were other things around there, but it wasn't like horrible or anything. But then he saw this heath and he avoided it until his job made it necessary for him to go through it. And then he freaked, which fair. And so he started asking the old people in Arkham about it. And about what these strange days were, because that's all they ever called it. That these were things that happened in these strange days. And so he, hold on, I can't type numbers and talk at the same time, and I have to create my document so I can start doing this. He was trying to get as much information as he could, and that was approximately none, except that everybody said, just don't believe what Ami says. And he was like, okay, that's who I have to talk to.
Right.
And I was like,
smart.
Exactly
Very
that.
Smart.
You have a whole town full of people saying, like, don't believe what this guy says. Like, how can you not go talk to that guy?
Well, you need to know what to disprove, right?
Right? Exactly. I have to know what I'm not believing.
Right.
Exactly.
Or maybe he's the guy who got it right.
Yeah. That and in this particular circumstance where it's a thing that everybody refuses to talk about, that seems fairly accurate. Like, we can't tell you, but don't ask that guy. Well said. It was funny because he kept saying that, like, Ami was like off, almost crazy, but at the same time was like he was coherent and capable enough, but he could tell that, like, he was slightly insane at the same time. And just the way that he, like, describes his conversations with him and stuff, it really doesn't sound like he was insane at all. I'm like, are you sure? Because you said you believe him.
Right.
Like,
right.
if you didn't believe him, then I could see you saying that he sounded insane.
I mean, he's telling a story about aliens, and also we don't have good words for a lot of things that back then that were just lumped under insane. I mean,
Truth.
He's telling crazy stories about aliens, and he probably has PTSD.
Probably. Which, when was this one written? Did anybody look at that?
I didn't. No.
I don't remember when this specific.
I think we had good words for that back then.
Yeah, I don't remember when this specific story was written, but PTSD wasn't even like a diagnosis thing until World War One.
Yeah.
What?
But even then, they had different words for it.
Yeah. And they associated it specifically with war.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people still do. And
Yeah.
I have diagnosed PTSD. I have never been to war.
Mhm.
And
It used to be shell shocked, and that's why it was only associated with the war.
Yeah.
And now
Yes.
because there's trauma in a part of the acronym, that's why it's more associated with other things.
well,
now.
because they realize that it's the same reaction.
Does the
For
same thing.
multiple things.
Yeah.
But just a lot of people still maintain
Mainly
it as-
associated with military.
What was I just starting to look up?
I think you were going to look up when it was written. Were you? That was the last thing you mentioned. That was the last thing you mentioned being curious
I
about.
I was going to look that up, but I had already been opening a tab before I said that for something else I was going to look up too. Yeah, this was 1927, so at least shell shock was known at the time. And thank you for saying that, Karen, because I was trying to bring that to mind and I could not think of what it was that they said. da, da, da. Oh, I know what I was looking at. It was a quote that I want to read later when that's why you didn't know, because we haven't gotten to it yet. So that first section before he starts retelling the story that Ami told him.
Yeah.
Any thoughts anybody has on it that you want to share? Anything?
Really should have reviewed it.
What?
I said I really should have reviewed it.
Should refute it?
I just thought it was weird that he went back and like quit
reviewed
his job
it
over it. Like he was so scared that he just quit his job.
I don't blame him.
I mean,
like, I wouldn't want to keep walking through that. Okay. So he starts describing everything that happened. More than like reviewing the individual parts, I just have like questions that I'm curious what everybody else was thinking. I had thoughts in my mind, but I'm curious what everybody else was thinking too. The rabbits that jumped longer than rabbits should. How did you picture that, or what was that to you?
Everything was just slowly becoming unnatural. It was like getting infected with like this alien virus or whatever. And so like he specifically doesn't say. It was just like bigger or more distorted. I feel like it was becoming distorted in a way that was just uncomfortable enough, just unnatural enough that was kind of what I thought. Like it's getting bigger, it's getting longer, its body's getting distorted and not proportionately.
Yeah, I see that.
Because it kept being like almost like it would be almost normal, but then not.
Right. Well, I was initially, that's how I pictured it. And then thinking back on it after reading so many descriptions of all the animals turning gray and then to dust, I was wondering if it was more that the body wasn't like holding together as cohesively.
It's slowly coming apart.
Yeah.
While still functioning.
I don't know if coming apart is the right word. Like, the parts on the inside were letting go while it was still like held together enough.
Yeah.
I mean, none of it makes sense, but
yeah.
But I was wondering if it was supposed to be something like that, because that didn't seem, the like elongating like that didn't seem consistent with the turning gray. And
although there were all kinds of weird, not everything was just turning gray and turning to ash. It was affecting different things differently. Like it was affecting the family differently. The people, affecting trees. It was affecting the trees differently. And before, like a lot of the things that got affected, it was like there was an in-between phase where it was unpredictable how it affected them. Like the trees moving on their own, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true.
The people like slowly losing their sanity.
And I have to ask, you have to know I have to ask this. What were you picturing every time that they talked about this color that doesn't exist on Earth? Because like, I don't think humans have the ability to picture a different color than actually exists.
Yeah. So what's the closest real color that we had that we pictured this as we were reading it?
Yeah.
Kind of an amber color, but more orange.
Okay.
See, I kind of felt like it was
a little bit of green.
kind of like a black void with like a purple silver
Ooh.
shimmer.
I was a little closer to that, almost like the iridescent factor on like obsidian. Like that darkness, but with that iridescence. That's about where I was, and it reminded me of the sequel to the book Ella Enchanted, or companion book to it, that I just blanked on the name of, but it's a Sleeping Beauty type story.
Oh,
Fairest, that's the name.
Wait, no, that's not the Sleeping Beauty one.
Fairest
That's
is
Snow White.
Sleeping Beauty is Spindle's End.
Snow White. I meant to say Snow White.
Okay.
Sorry.
And Spindle's End is so
Just picturing Snow White in my brain. I was like, everything was Snow White except for the words coming out of my mouth.
Oh, I'm getting it mixed up too, because that's a different author, and that's a Robin McKinley book. Sorry.
Anyway, she the main character is descended from like part, she's mostly human, but she has like some ogre blood. And she has this black hair. She has this black hair, but it's not like pretty shiny jet black or something. It's just kind of this flat blah hair that everybody's like, yeah, her hair is just not pretty. It's not anything. And when she was among, and again, I might have said it wrong, not ogres, gnomes.
Okay.
When she was among the gnomes, and they were like, oh, your hair is so beautiful. And she's like, what are you talking about? It's just boring and dull. And it was this color that they called hatun that they could see, but it was outside of the human color spectrum. And it was kind of this, they described it as like this black that had this sort of iridescence and beautiful
that's really
factor
cool
to it. So I think that since I read that, when I tried to think of a color that is outside of anything that's ever known, that's what usually comes to mind is a black with a mystical iridescence to it. My life has been very largely shaped by Gail Carson Levine. That happens when you read Ella Enchanted like 3 times a year for like 8 years in a row. So the meteorite fell.
Yeah.
There were metals that they took from it that tested weird. Which when I watched the movie, that was one of the things that made me laugh, because they kept describing it like the metal stayed hot no matter what they did. They could not cool it down. Watching the movie, and they're like examining this meteorite, and they're like, wow, it's cooling down really faster than logical. I'm like, wow, you went the opposite direction on that one.
That's really funny.
So they were seeing this color as they were like heating it, I think, or treating it with the different chemicals. And then they started seeing it when they were like digging into it more, and they found the little cylinder thing. Cylinder's not the word I meant.
Like the little pocket of whatever it was. Yeah.
Spherical is the word I meant. I'm like circle kind, not tube kind, circle 3D. I swear I know English. And then they broke one open. Yeah. Or the only one that they really saw. They broke it.
Yeah.
It seems like, I think, if I remember it right, the soil was already showing signs of contamination before they broke into it. Am I right about that?
I don't remember.
I remember they mentioned that the size of the meteorite had shrank within a day.
Yeah. Like the metal was already behaving strangely, but I don't seem to remember that there was contamination.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I was trying to figure out, because at the end he's like, there must have been more than just that nodule. They broke one. There must have been at least 2 more that got down into the soil. And I was like, were they, or was this, I mean, it's like an amorphous something gaseous type thing of a sentient being. Could it have come out of that nodule? And if it did, then the fact that there was still something remaining seems more like it would have like maybe the one that couldn't go anywhere couldn't break out of its nodule for some reason. That sounds like I'm talking about like eggs, but I was thinking more in terms of like imprisonment. There's one episode of Star Trek Voyager where they find a Q, not the Q that they know, but a Q, a member of the Q continuum who is imprisoned inside an asteroid.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking something like that, similar to which story was it? I don't have my book here because I still can't find it, but way back near the beginning, there was one of the stories, there was something where something had been imprisoned and they accidentally let it out or something. I can't remember. Anyway, it's a common theme in sci-fi stuff anyway. But I was wondering if it was something like that. But also, like, there's no reason to assume that there was any evil intent in this sentient gaseous being that crashed to Earth. Like, it crashed, if like it's from some place that's so thoroughly different and has different laws of physics and everything.
Right.
It crashed on an Earth.
It wasn't a malicious thing. It was just
right.
It was an alien contaminant. It was like, It was a thing that affected Earth living things in a particular way, and there was no defense built into them for it because it was just so foreign.
Right.
Almost like it was like a terraformer, almost maybe.
I don't know.
I don't think there was any intent like that behind it. I think it was just the idea of an alien. It's such a simple idea compared to a lot of these other stories.
But the simple idea of just this alien from a place where the laws of physics, laws of nature are so different that it's very present here starts changing things around it.
Just slowly destroys. It's so well done.
Mean,
it's not. Yeah.
But the thing that fascinated me with that is that they keep saying like it's not anything, it's a color. And it's like that whole concept, like the alien is just a color. And that's the thing I was looking up a quote for. Because I find it fascinating that they describe it that way, as like it's a color. It's not a physical anything that's causing all this. It's a color. Which made the title make so much more sense. And there's this thing in Babylon 5 where they go looking for what in the show they call the first ones, which are like these ancient beings who are like so far evolved beyond the current like sentient beings or whatever that they're practically like gods to them, and they're like, we know they're not real gods, but like we can't understand them. They're way too far beyond us.
So this is the closest to a concept that we have. So this is what we're going with.
Right. So there was this conversation where is between Ambassador Jakar and Catherine Sakai, who was piloting a ship. And Sakai's like, I saw something out there. What was it? And he points at a flower. They're in the hydroponics bay, and he points at a flower and says, what is this? And there's a bug on it. And she says, it's an ant. And then she's like, so much gets shipped up from Earth on commercial transports that it's hard to keep them out. And he's like, yeah, I've just picked it up on the tip of my glove. If I put it down again, and it asks another ant, what was that? How would it explain? There are things in the universe billions of years older than either of our races. They're vast, timeless, and if they're aware of us at all, it is as little more than ants, and we have as much chance of communicating with them as an ant has with us. We know, we've tried, and we've learned that we can either stay out from underfoot, or be stepped on. And although the color, alien, whatever, wasn't necessarily in like that like far advanced godlike state, but just so very different. I feel like it's just a color. It's probably not accurate. It's not a color that caused that, like this color that came from space caused this. It's just that they had no other language to try to describe it.
Right.
And I kept thinking back to that part of Babylon 5.
That's the thing that Lovecraft does a lot too. He's like, I don't know how to describe this, but it drove everybody crazy, you know. Yes.
Which is such a fascinating way of looking at life. Okay. I'm getting like nothing done on this Photoshop document because I keep stopping to look at things on the story.
I don't know. I haven't gotten very far either. It's okay.
I drew a whole fairy.
There you go.
Great.
It's very derpy looking, but it's a whole fairy.
It's really cute.
I like it.
It's a mushroom fairy. It's got a mushroom hat.
Yeah, I see that.
I'm like scrolling back through because there was one quote that I wanted to read from the story just for the beauty of the language. But while I'm finding it, does anybody have any other thoughts you want to share?
This one was interesting because a lot of the other ones we've read have led up to a revelation about what was actually going on, but this one wasn't that. This was more of just I can't look away, watch everything fall apart, and you can't stop it kind of thing. It was a different kind of story, and it was even told a little like the narrative style was even a little bit different from some of the others. And it was really different from the ones that we've read so far.
Well, I wonder if that's because
there wasn't anything. There was
at a different time.
What?
Like maybe he wrote it at a different point in his life.
Stories have been different at different times in my life, but like, yeah, it
also was different inspiration.
There was no big surprise reveal at the end. There was no twist. It was more, this concept is terrifying, and now we're going to watch it play out all the way to the end. Have fun. Buckle up.
It was absolutely riveting in that. It wasn't
it was. I think it's a really good example. Like, I mean, I was a high school English teacher for 10 years, and you always have kids come in and they're writing their first short story, and they're like, they want to put a twist or a surprise at the end. And I mean, if you're good at putting a twist in, you're good at putting a twist in. I would say Lovecraft is good at putting a twist in, but most people aren't. And so I would have conversations with them about how the twist is not the only way to get suspense. Sometimes when the reader knows all the information and the characters don't, or the reader guesses at more information than the characters, you actually create even more suspense because we have to watch it play out while being powerless to do anything about it. And I feel like this was a really good example of that kind of suspense. It wasn't knowing what was happening didn't make it any less suspenseful or effective.
Yeah, absolutely. I found the quote I was looking for. It's describing the trees as the thing was like leaving.
Oh, the trees that move by themselves. It was so good.
I just love this sentence in particular. Just his language. Just I think that's part of why I didn't like the movie as much, because it was just like a modern day horror story, right? And not like the beauty of Lovecraft. It was.
I mean, the face of Nicolas Cage is not enough to do.
Well, it was also fully modern day setting.
Yes. I haven't seen it yet, but I am aware of,
After both National Treasures, I fully associate Nicolas Cage with the past. Anyway, the sentence is, they were twitching morbidly and spasmodically, clawing in convulsive and epileptic madness at the moonlit clouds, scratching impotently at the noxious air as if jerked by some alien and bodiless line of linkage with subterranean horrors writhing and struggling below the black roots. I just love it.
Yeah.
It's so brilliant. Like, he puts so much richness into his language. Put. I don't think he's still doing it, probably. He puts so much richness into his language, and he still left so many gaps. And like, back to what you were saying about the other ways of building suspense. One of the ways that he does it very effectively is it's not by the twist that he puts in. He does do that, but it's by the gaps that he leaves that are fully up to your imagination, and you know that this is terrifying people, so your imagination is going to fill in what's most terrifying to you, and that's a billion times more intense than having somebody describe to you exactly how it was terrifying. Right. And yet he has that rich language, just you can't help but see everything he's describing at the same time. To be able to write like that without the racism.
That's hard.
At least there wasn't that in this story.
Right. No, I don't think we had any of that in this one.
I mean, unless you count the whole fear of the alien thing.
Since we were dealing with that one point, like, aliens,
we do fear the unknown.
Yeah.
It's just that some of the unknown is a lot easier to just get to know and move on with your life. And other parts of the unknown are like completely alien, beyond the laws of physics as we know them. Something else that is so completely different from anything here that it is transforming the land and people around it. Oh, that was the other thing I was going to say. When you mentioned him covering it over with water. All I could think, it lived in a well. It lived in the well. Why do you think water is going to make it better? It's not going to kill it.
And the sequel is what happened when they filled it with water.
One of my podcasts I listen to, I have a couple different podcasts that and one of them was a true crime podcast that I was listening to that was talking about different towns that have been like flooded to make man-made lakes.
Yeah.
And incidentally, all about the racism that was involved with that and the amount of those towns that were just kicking
so bad
people of color out. But the one that I most recently heard cover it was Strange and Unexplained. And they're not covering it from a true crime perspective. They cover things that ghost stories and things like that, and like from a hint of a perspective of some skepticism. But like, we don't know why these things happen this way in this thing. And it was one town like that had the lake covered. A lake covered this town over. They like evacuated everybody and everything, but so many people have, and they removed things from the town. This was the major point. They removed things from the town that they thought might float to the surface. But they didn't remove other things, including that they didn't relocate grave sites.
Oh, interesting.
And so that's where everybody draws their like ghost story things of it from. So it's not like the creation of the lake killed anybody. But
there are dead people in the lake. I mean, there are dead people in most lakes, but you know.
Yeah. But apparently this particular lake hasn't. It's somewhere down south. I can't remember where it was, but it has like an abnormally high amount of like unexplained, like,
I feel like I was just reading about that. I'm really curious if it was the one that my friend was talking about that I was reading about. Yeah. I don't remember where. I don't remember.
It might be. Although there are a lot of them. Like, I did not know until within the past year or two just how much our country is filled with lakes that didn't used to exist and are now in places that towns did used to exist. I'm like, what? You couldn't find a better place for it? There are big fields out there. There are fields out there that you can't even grow stuff in. But
it's my super random top seller from my last 2 events.
Oh, nice.
It is with cats. I've had this in my shop for 3 or 4 years and nobody buys it. And I'm out of it. I mean, not now because I got a delivery, but I'm out of it in all the sizes. I do not know why people are suddenly wanting the Les Mis with cats. But
wait, what's the? I could see the title of it, but I couldn't actually see the cats. Oh, I like it.
I like it.
I thought that I had seen
the little baby.
I thought that I had seen all of your cat novel adaptation things like that, but I somehow missed that one apparently.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go look back through your shop again.
That might not be online because
I still have to go look back through your shop because if I miss that, I might miss something else too. Anyway, the stories of those towns that have been flooded kept coming to mind as I was thinking about like what this reservoir. I can't say that word right. I've never been able to say that word right. Reservoir. I
don't think your horror story is over just because you cover it up with water.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think that was the beginning.
Right. I think this was the prologue.
Origin story.
Sorry, you say that, and anytime anybody says anything about an origin story, all I can picture is the dorky guy in Big Hero 6 going, "Can you feel it? Our origin story." Anyway, yeah, I don't know what I was just about to say. I've gotten almost nothing done, but it's a good conversation.
I finally changed color.
Hey,
yay!
I learned that my pictures printed at the wrong size because it scaled them instead of printing at page size. So now I have to reprint them.
Lovely.
But I make all of the interior pages with cardstock, and when they're all glued together and covered in resin, it's not like anybody's flipping through them. I can reuse this cardstock.
Oh yeah.
I have that list I was telling you. I have all of the things. I also have exactly how many pages for each different size of the book. Because the binding changes.
Are you selling these on Etsy, or are you selling them at events? What are you making these for?
They'll be on my website, pixieelegance.com.
Okay.
They're probably going to be the first actual product that I get listed there. When I was sick so much this spring, I had planned on having stuff listed a couple months ago, and then I couldn't do anything. So now that I can again, I'm working hard to try to get them out. Yeah. I'm trying to get these up. I'm trying to get, I've got some like assorted soaps, and then I'm trying to get some more specific soap styles done.
Aww.
I love it so much. It doesn't even matter how many times I see them. I love every single one of these cat novels. They just all make me happy. So yeah, I have I determined that the 2-inch ones are, I don't think that they're too big for earrings. Some people like big earrings.
Really just depends on weight.
Yeah, and it's plenty light with being made of paper. I mean, the resin coating is just a coating. It's not.
Yeah.
But I'm going to use some of the 2-inch ones to make some necklaces also. I have so it'll be possible to buy like a necklace of the book or to buy a necklace of the author with the earrings of their book.
Yeah, that's cute. I love that.
Which is the first one that I made, my Jane Austen one with the Pride and Prejudice and Sense Sensibility earrings. I have Jane Austen, Edgar Allan Poe, Mary Wollstonecraft, and Mary Shelley. And I have Mary Wollstonecraft and Mary Shelley because I have these two that make a little heart in between, and so I had to do one that has the mother-daughter set. And so it's I'm going to have various combinations of those available, and available to be on different lengths. Like choose what length you want it. Choose like, so if you want it like a choker with a cameo, or if you want like something hanging down further, and then it can be on chain or on ribbon. I love my Jane Austen on a ribbon. It just really gives that.
It is really pretty.
What?
It is really pretty. Jane Austen.
It gives me just having the ribbon gives it that little bit of extra 1800s vibe. You know, all of the ribbons that all of the Bennett girls talked about. And by all of the Bennett girls, I mean mostly Lydia. And then I'm going to work on Lovecraft next. And I want to see if I can do some of these, like I have like some little flowers just kind of like very, very faintly set into the background. So it's not like overwhelmingly Jane Austen has flowers around her, but like just gives that little bit of extra texture in the background. And so I want to try to do that with like octopus arms or something for Lovecraft. But just like really faintly in the background. It's harder to do it and make it like my own, because there are actual photographs of him, not just paintings. And so I'm like, well, I could just use a photo. No, I can't do that way. I mean, I probably could, but I'm not gonna. And then, but then, yeah, I'll have options of like the 2-inch ones if they want just a book, and then have like a stack of books, which will include a stack that's all of Jane Austen's books, and I haven't decided yet which other books I'm going to do that with. Try to get some more soaps done hopefully this weekend, and maybe actually have like products on my website that people can actually order.
Ooh.
My shop's currently on vacation till the 1st. I'm restocking, and what I mean by restocking is I'm going over everything I have, and I'm either getting rid of it or keeping it or changing it.
Yeah. Well, it is 8 o'clock.
It is.
Wow.
Well, next week, 2 weeks from now.
So, we just got the earrings I made for her for 4th of July.
I love those. Now keep looking at the earrings while I'm opening my calendar that I didn't already have open.
July 5th, I believe, is our next one.
Yes, but I currently still have everything where we're offset. I have to.
I'm busy. I'm busy July 5th. I won't be able to come.
What?
I said I'm busy July 5th. I won't be able to come.
Okay.
But you guys can do it, and I'll read the story.
I think we'll still do it. Well, we'll be discussing the Whisperer in Darkness parts 1 through 4, and then we'll still have the remaining 3 parts the following week. The following, 2 weeks later.
So you just have to do all.
I should just start saying fortnight.
The following fortnight.
The following fortnight, we shall have the additional portion. But if there's anything that you want to share with the initial, yes, that's the one I have on a bag. If there's anything you want to share about the initial portion, you can send it in the
That's
group
true.
chat, and
Yeah,
we can
yeah.
like share it for you.
Like the memes I spam you guys with now and then.
Yes. Yes. But for now, we should get going. I did not get enough sleep last night, and I want to go to bed. 8:00 at night, and I'm like, I'm old. Longest day of the year, and I'm going to bed earlier than usual. Have a great couple of weeks. Well, Lisa and Karen, I'll see you anyway, but
Yeah.